What's up, guys? Let's go ahead and go over the build guide for my Ice Shot Deadeye that a lot of you guys had requested. So, starting right off, if this is your first time checking out a Path of Exile build guide, and maybe you came from my Diablo videos or any other video game, I do have a full walkthrough. This was my League starter. It has all of the things that you're going to be needing to know for Path of Exile. I'll link that down below in the pinned comment. It also goes over every single one of the quests that you will actually need to get things started, so you'll have all of the knowledge ready for you in terms of all of the quests that are important to do. But this is just going to focus in more on the build guide itself, as it was something that I had requested. So it is a Lightning Warp Ice Shot build. And the reason why I like playing Ice Shot, and this is kind of a frequently asked question over, let's say, Tornado Shot, is its response rate actually feels a little bit faster. Also, it's a lot cheaper to build, so it's a lot more beginner friendly versus something like Tornado Shot, which can get quite pricey. But any bow build can start scaling very, very high. I had a lot of people ask, can I run Lightning Arrow? It's basically the same. As long as you're scaling elemental damage, you can play kind of whatever you want with this build. And that's the awesome things with the bow. So, starting right off, let's go ahead and go over the equipment that you're going to try to look out for. Keep in mind, you don't have to get everything exactly the same, but these are kind of the ideal things. And also, if you want to know what the passive tree kind of looks like in terms of the progression, again, I recommend you guys to check out my beginning one, because this goes into every single act what you should be getting. This is more so for people that may want to swap builds, or for any of you guys that turned into the stream and wanted to go ahead and play this, and you guys are wondering, how does this build work? How are you going so fast? Because I only really like playing fast builds, and while I don't really focus too much on the wisps, you can do that. I'll show you guys gameplay of the wisp, but we're just going to be opening up. These are just all rare T16 maps, and we're going to be just blazing through them. So, starting right off, let's go over kind of what you're looking for in terms of the pieces of gear, so the equipment here. So, basically what you're looking for on your bow is all of the basically elemental damages. You can just go to the Path of Exile trade website, sort by basically highest elemental DPS, but you may want to also scale into some sort of crit. If you can get crit multiplier, that's great, because, well, you'll be getting a high amount of crit multiplier in this build. Eventually, you can swap into crit. You don't have to start off with it at like the lower levels of the game, but basically as much elemental damage as you can possibly get. Since we go Ice Shot, we're going to be getting lots of brittle, because we're going to be getting the Secrets of Suffering. So this is what we're kind of looking for on the bow here. Again, just elemental damage as much as you can. And so what we're running in the helmet is Athana's Mark. This is what allows us to teleport and go super, super fast with our build. Heck, I don't even need to actually move if I didn't want to via like using the mouse in terms of like clicking, right? I could actually just hold down my Lightning Warp. However, it does feel a little bit better for me, because you get to move a little bit faster if you move a little bit and then Lightning Warp and move a little bit Lightning Warp. If any of you guys have played with Flame Dash, it's kind of the same thing. But the reason why we have to run this helmet here, if you want to go super fast, you do definitely want this. You can run Blizzard Crown if you want to. You can run a helmet with reduced mana cost, mana reservation efficiency. That's totally fine. I just like to go as fast as possible. So this helmet allows us to actually, when we use a attack with a bow, it's going to let us use something else, whatever socket it in, and I'll explain the gems later. And then just any sort of quiver with additional elemental damage is what you're really looking forward to getting, as well as any crit multi, life resistances. That's kind of what you're looking for. And then the next category, we have the Hiri's Ire. So the chest piece is optional if you want to run this, or you can run Lightning Coil. Lightning Coil is going to give you way more survivability, but Ire is just great because it gives you a massive amount of spell suppression, high evasion rate, and on top of that, you get the bonus cold damage, which is great because you want to stack as much brittle as possible. And in most situations, you'll get about 5 brittle. Getting the full 6 can be a little bit challenging, especially against like pinnacle bosses, but I use this exact build to do all of the bosses in the game, so Maven and all of that. The whole guide walks you through everything anyways. And then as far as the amulet goes, it's actually a really cheap amulet. I do have a double corrupted one, although I didn't equip it for the gameplay. But Fangs of Frost is good enchantment on it, but basically just grants you precision, gives you Coaling Strike, which is great, and then gives you a massive amount of accuracy, so it basically lets you not have to spec into accuracy on your skill tree, which is awesome. And then for the rings, just life, resistances, that's basically it. You also ideally want to try to get some strength and intelligence, one on like one. So one giving strength, one giving intelligence. I had this unset ring over here, so I was able to put in another socket here. But this was optional. I put in Vitality, a really low level one, just because I had a Watcher's Eye that had plus life regeneration. But basically just resistances as well as life. And then in our gloves over here, I like getting the one that gives us cold exposure on hit. Or you can get any variants of different elements because you're doing all of them anyways, and because we run Secrets of Suffering, we're going to get a benefit from all of them anyways. And then we are running just basically resistances as well as some extra damage, and if you can get extra attack speed, that's kind of what you want. The one thing that is kind of nice to have is this extra rage here. I don't actually use anything to expend the rage, I just kind of like having it because the longer the fights go on, basically once you get to the boss, you'll be about 50 rage. You go ahead and pop your Vault Ice Shot, and then you just delete the boss instantly. That's how we're teleporting going around so fast. We actually spec into shrines as well. I know this is kind of blocking the level here, but you'll see all the maps, guys, they're all going to be T16. They're all going to be rare maps, and then we'll go into some other maps later. You can do it white maps too, because this build, it is very, very fast. So if you want to, I mean, that way you don't have to even read what the mods are. You can just go in back to back to back, which is what I love with this build. But yeah, just a bunch of stats on the gloves. And then for the belt over here, I'm running a Stygian Vise with extra life as well as some resistances, basically stat stick. And then on the boots, the only thing that was kind of nice to have is getting extra spell suppression and then extra resistances, life. Again, nothing too expensive. No tailwind, onslaught, elevated, nothing too expensive here. And then as far as the flasks, I like to run all my flasks automatic. If you want to run a life flask while you are progressing, that's totally cool too. You can drop at Zeri's Promise, but I like all of these automatic flasks. And then we're running a Quicksilver flask over here. And then we've got the silver flask, we got onslaught, and then we get, this is one of the most important ones, the diamond flask. And then we are running a granite flask just for extra survivability. And then as far as the cluster jewels go, this is optional if you do want to run these. These aren't going to be required, but the Secrets of Suffering is highly recommended. This is the interrogation. So the only thing that I'd say is a little bit expensive. Last time I checked, it was like a divine, but prices fluctuate, especially with this league, man. Anyways, so we're just looking for something that has Fuel to Fight, Heavy Hitter. This one has Calamitous, and then we have Eye to Eye and Repeater, basically the cluster jewels that you want. And then if you get a good like Corruption, that's awesome as well. But this is the only thing I'd say is kind of like really nice to have, the interrogation. And then we've got a Watcher's Eye, and I have increased attack damage while affected by precision. And then this one happened to have regen life. You can get this for pretty cheap. It's not like super expensive. And then we have, this was something I actually got really lucky and I just crafted myself. But this is a jewel that just has crit multi with cold, as well as projectile damage and attack speed with bows. Very nice thing over here. But you can replace it with anything that gives you like life and some damage, crit multi, any variants of that. Or you can look for something that gives you, let's say, like int or strength just for requirements. And then I'm running another socket over here with this jewel over here, this abyss jewel that gives us corrupted blood immunity. I really like being immune to corrupted blood. I mean, no one really likes to get hit by that, so that is a great thing to have. And then this one just gives us extra accuracy, extra some damage. Now these are the charms, if you guys are wondering what the heck are these. It's just that on the PoE Ninja website, which is my favorite website to use for build guides, it just shows up as this. So basically just getting extra spell suppression, and projectiles gain extra damage as they travel further. You can get these for about, like, last time I checked, it was like 80C to maybe about a divine. Then there's one that had extra resistances because I think I needed a rise cap, but spell suppression, getting extra elemental pen resistances, those are all like good options as well. And as far as the skill tree goes, I'm just going to link it down below. I mean, you guys can see it right here. You guys can also see it via like the website, but I don't like the official website. The official website is not nearly as good as PoE Ninja. Now, as far as the masteries goes, you guys can see all the masteries here. Again, all this will be linked down below. Now, as far as the skills go, we're running Ice Column, running Mana Forged Arrows, Power Charge on Crit, and Frenzy. So we have max power charges, max frenzy charges. Well, we have 3, which is the default max. And then this is very important in the helmet. Lightning Warp, Life Tap, and Less Duration. These need to be linked. This does not need to be linked. Then we're running Grace. Then we're running Ball Eye Shot, Elemental Damage with attacks, Inspiration, increased critical damage, Awaken Cold, Returning Projectiles. Awaken Cold could be really anything else. It doesn't really matter. It's just, this just happens to be what I had, and it was really cheap. In fact, a lot of the Awaken added damages are really cheap. It's just like Awaken Multi Strike is just like the really expensive one, which we don't run in this. It's not related at all. But nonetheless, in the bow, it has Blood Rage built in. Then this is our setup over here. Oh, it's just, I guess, mentioning that this is like linked with it. Okay, so well, anyways, nonetheless, this over here is just mentioning that it has Blood Rage, so it's the same thing. Now, this is optional. Now, during Pinnacle bosses, I like using this, but if it's not like a boss, this doesn't matter. You don't need 2 6-links. I'm running them in the gameplay because in the very beginning, you can run a 6-link bow and get it really cheap. And then if you want to get 6-link ire, it could be a couple divines, but you could just run a 5-link ire Heck, you don't even have to run any of these if you don't want to, but I'm running in the gameplay over here. We are running Artillery Ballista with Inspiration, Greater Multiple Projectiles. I just kind of filled in the slots, to be honest, because it was the only thing that's really important, honestly. Get Elemental Focus, get Artillery Ballista. You can run Focus Ballista, but I like throwing it down and letting it kill things on its own and walking away, because a lot of the bosses and a lot of like just elites in this game, when they die, they just throw out a giant explosion. So I like throwing these things down. Basically, if there is any essences, I throw these down, I walk away, or a strong box. I'll just basically throw up a bunch of these Artillery Ballistas, open the strong box, walk away, and we're going to be good to go. And this is the same build that I used from the start. And as far as like currency goes, you'll see that like you get a pretty decent amount of currency this league. This league in general is a pretty rewarding league. But it's very, very, look, there's just a Divine Orb right there. And this is just like raw 10 minutes of gameplay that is recorded from my stream. I'm not going to put like this gets X Divines per hour, because there's not really like a currency strategy other than, well, this league is just simply really good. If you do the Wisps, sure, it's better. But I like to be as fast as possible. So I really haven't been engaging as much as I think that you can engage with the league mechanic, and that is because I would rather just go way faster, clearing out way more maps than simply doing like one map that's super juiced up. Is it more valuable? It's kind of up to you. I mean, if we can clear out maps way faster, it depends on your build as well, because some of these builds that will require Headhunter, and then you have to do the Legion, then you have to go buy the Scarabs, and then you have to go engage in trade. Like, all of that is time wasted, right? And you're not basically farming up. And eventually, once you get to like a higher level, maybe that can be more valuable, as you'll usually die if you juice up the Wisps too much, right? But over here in my ring, I'm running the Vitality here just because my Watcher's Eye supported it. Steel Skin, cast when damage taken, and then Sniper's Mark on hit, and then Precision is granted with the Hero's Truth. So that is what we are running. So that's going to be like kind of, that was a really fast build guide. Usually I'm used to like very extensive build guides that go on for a long time, but I wanted to try to condense it into like a shorter, like Diablo form when I usually make build guides. And if you guys want to do Wisps, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some Wisp gameplay over here, because it can do Wisps, because a lot of people ask like, why don't I do Wisps? It's because it takes too long. I don't like walking around, and the way that this build excels is to go in and just be as fast as possible. I don't even know how much Wisps did we get. We only got like 2,000 something, but you can see you can still delete content very fast, and that's the goal with this build, is to be as fast as possible. Basically, I'm looking on the shrine, the little like altars here. We're just looking for, does it drop Divine Orbs? Nope. Okay, keep up pushing. So this build is designed to be as fast as possible while being relatively budget friendly. Sure, you can exceed and go even further with this build, but it's a really good step in the direction of like a beginner's guide. And again, if you guys need the full walkthrough, maybe you came for Diablo and you're like, I want the full build guide, every single act. I'll show you the POB for every single act, and it does all of the quests, so you'll have everything ready to go. And if you haven't played Path of Exile, man, it's a great time, because you got a couple weeks before the next season of Diablo. But that's gonna wrap things up. That's the build guide for the build that you guys wanted. Also, really quickly, do want to mention, if you guys are interested in going and pushing bosses, do not run this helmet, because it lets you teleport, which sounds great, but in reality, what you would probably should run is like a Blizzard Crown, or again, anything else for the bosses. But really awesome build, and I played it for like several leagues. If you want to run Lightning Arrow, that's totally fine. If you run Tornado Shot, it's pretty much like going to be all the same. It's a bow build. Most bow builds are going to be relatively the same in terms of like what the tree's looking like, but I really like this one. Anyways, that's going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed the gameplay video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn that bell. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. And again, everything will be in the pin. But take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.